But let me tell you, when you go to Christ and you bring all your problems to him and you bring your problems to the right one, right? Then all those problems that you once had before are forgiven. They're forgiven. And you start a whole brand new chapter in this life.
So this is episode 14 of the Only Way podcast. And in this podcast, after some inspiration, after having a conversation with a guy from the gym yesterday, we wanted to really talk about with each other and, with you guys about how, our dad, he didn't really force the gym onto us. He kind of just let us be kids, let us play the Fortnite for 10 hours and stuff. And then we somehow, this is what we're going to talk about, how we developed into being the kids who willingly want to go to the gym with him and willingly want to do things with him, and he doesn't have to force things on us. And the reason why this subject is also important is because this is the same thing he did to us with God. He never forced God onto us. He never gave us a Bible and told us that you have to read this every day. We simply, after he got inspiration to finally connect with God even further, we simply just, as kids do, when they see stuff, they are inspired by that, and then your environment shapes you. So when in our environment, when we had our dad waking up at 6 a.m. reading his Bible, and we weren't doing anything, we felt this conviction. That's something we talked about a little bit in our other podcast, how we felt this conviction. Even as kids, we felt this conviction, this feeling of, I know for me at least, felt this conviction, this feeling of guilt, that maybe this is something that I should consider. That's essentially what this whole podcast is going to be about. We're going to be giving you advice to how, especially if you're like a parent or something, how you should maybe take steps towards possibly getting your kid to go into the gym with you, or in fact doing anything that you want your kid to do, but like getting closer to God or going to the gym with you. You can get your kid to stop playing video games for 10 hours a day simply by not directly confronting them, but rather by being an example. Because that's at the end of the day, that's the only way we can spread the message of Christ, is being an example, being an example that glorifies his name, and people can see how happy we are and how fulfilled we are, to a point where they want to be like us, and then they try their best to connect with Christ as well. So how do you guys right now, because I'm running out a little bit of ideas, I need to develop some more ideas, but how do you guys feel about how the conversation yesterday started, and the day before we were doing this podcast, I got inspiration to make this type of structured video. But how do you guys feel about this topic of instead of directly confronting your kids about a problem, I guess you could say, rather instead of doing that, you lead by example?
So yesterday, you spoke about this a little bit, but yesterday, we usually like to kind of talk about anything in general, mainly me talking in the car, before actually heading out to go into the gym. I like to kind of get my mindset, where we are. Sometimes it's just good talking outside. And that's just my time right there to kind of engage with them, trying to kind of feel how you feeling, how you doing. Yeah. You ready to, pump it up. And when I saw, people coming out the gym, so we saw this one particular guy who normally he's always to himself. I never really engage with him. But, we have mutual friends, who we work out with too as well. So they were both talking, and I was like, all right, let's get out and go to the gym, right? And then the guy, he stopped us, and he was like, man, he had pretty much told the other guy who's a mutual friend, this guy and his kids, and then one of them was like, that's how I met him. I met him because of his kids. I met him, and I told him, how great they are always to be together working out. So then the guy just it was like a segue into a whole nother conversation. Like, how do you get your kids to, work out with you? How do you bring them to the gym? Because they, like, my kid, he likes to kind of be home playing games like Fortnite, and now, again, I've never had any conversation with this guy before. He's always seemed like a guy that was just into what he's doing, which that's me. When I'm at the gym, I'm focused. Like, whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm focused. I prefer not to engage, but, sometimes, you can't be a robot. And sometimes you got to acknowledge others, because you never know what that conversation will be like, and what it's going to, manifest into in your relationship, working out at the gym and just creating an amazing experience there with other people. You never know. I mean, you should never say no to a conversation. You never know what that person's going through. So when this guy asked me that, it was like, oh, like this has nothing to do with what I don't know. It felt really random, because we've never interacted any other way, but it was more like, hey, I'm a father too, and I also would love to have my kid here with me working out. And like that was like amazing, right? To me, it was like, wow, like this is cool. This is organic. This is not being forced on, and that's how I was with them, raising them. Like, I tried my best, even though sometimes, as a father, you want to implement change, and you want change to be this way and only this way, and there is no other way, and that's not realistic, because sometimes we're gonna all hit rock bottom, and we're not gonna respect. Like, what they say, respect your elders, but in this day and age, it's like, in order for me to respect you as an elder, you have to give me a reason. Like, I have to, just because you're 40 and I'm 16, I gotta respect you. Not necessarily. Like, yeah, you're older than me, right? But are you wiser than me? Because sometimes you have 40-year-old people that are much more of a kid than the kid who's 16. The kid who's 16 might actually be a little bit more wise in the head. Every generation changes, right? And with this generation, with technology, we kind of been a little bit more diluted. I feel like the technology is just making us much more diluted as far as human beings, and you can pretty much call us robots, because we're now desensitized. The things that we see now on TV that we used to never see before is now considered normal, when really, compared to how things used to be, it's not normal. I don't think it is. And we're being influenced, right? So sometimes you can learn a lot from a kid than you do from an adult. So yeah, don't let age be the dictator of your assumption, because you might be wrong just because of age. Like, really, don't let that be. So it's not always good to assume things, really, pretty much. So when I used to be, when I was growing up, raising them, because I was growing up too, being a father, I never it's not like anyone told me, like, here's the tools that you're gonna need to be a successful father. It was more like, just go with the flow. That's how it was for me. Just go with the flow. And raising them, it was more like I wanted them to see me as an example. So I led by example. The way I wanted to live, right, was the way that I wanted to portray and lead by example. If I was to force them and tell them, this is how you got to do things, this is how you got to be every day, then it would be more of a hindrance for them. It would be more of a discouragement, because it's like, what if I want to be the main character? What if I want to be this guy or someone else? Maybe I'm idolizing somebody or whatever. Before you knew God, you were probably idolizing people you didn't even know, right? Because we all have a way of growing up, and sometimes we get inspired by strangers than we do with our own family. And then when we grow up, we come back to the family and be like, you know what? You're a great example. But it takes time to get to that point in life, where you're actually wise enough to understand that you know what, you've been here for me, not this person who I don't know. You've been here for me, and sometimes you might be observing and you might not even realize it, but you're observing through the ethics, through the value that your mom and dad bestowed upon you. It's like, when I was growing up, I used to eat this at this time with my family. And you didn't realize it, but you were developing a habit. And then down the line, when you grew up, you're like, you know what? I remember those days, like Thanksgiving. We used to always eat together as a family on Thanksgiving. When you grow up and you notice that you no longer practice that because now you're a single person, you're out here doing your own thing, you start missing it. So that's what I'm saying. Like, when you lead by example, you don't want to force anything. You just want to lead. You just want to live and show people that you are a good person, right? By how you act, how you are. And that in exchange, especially your kids who are very observant, because kids are very observant. You don't know. Like, you may think they're not watching and they're not looking at you or whatever, but they really are. They really are. And it goes to show in their later years how they are is because of you. So not forcing anything was the reason why I am able to now engage with them, relate with them, take them to places that other dads wouldn't imagine taking their kids to with. And I kind of, like, when the guy asked me, how do you do it? I was kind of dumbfounded because I didn't know what to say. I was like, no one ever asked me that. No one ever asked me that, and I never asked anybody that. You're right, and you actually was the one who actually. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna lead this back to you, but you were the one that actually answered that question, and, like, this is interesting on what he says.
But yeah, when he asked you that question, I noticed that you didn't look like you were gonna answer it. And then the first thing that popped into my mind as, like, advice that, even though I'm not a father, that I noticed that something that you've done is, especially when it comes to the gym, is that before we started going to the gym with you, you started working out at home with us. Like, you started saying, oh, do you guys want to come downstairs and work out? And then this is where Jaden, like, before we started going to the gym, Jaden decided to pick up weights and start working out before me. And then from that, I decided to pick up weights and start working out from then. And then once that starts, it's like, well, we want to go to the gym now because we know how it feels compared to, like, body weight workouts and stuff. So that was the answer I gave to this guy, which I feel like when it comes to getting, like, your kid into the gym,
yeah,
I feel like that's the number one step. Stop focusing on what you really want and just one step at a time. Like, how are you going to get them to the gym when they don't even want to work out with you? Or, like, if they're not even working out already, you need to get them to start working out first, and then work out with them, and then maybe do an intense workout, and then go to the gym. But
yeah,
that's, like, number one advice if you're trying to get your kid, or not even your kid, but, like, someone around you to the gym. Like, let's say you have a friend that you really want to get to the gym. Maybe just stop focusing on the gym aspect of it. Maybe just start going for runs with them. Start going to, like, the park or something like that. And that will transition into them getting to the gym because they're going to start liking this healthy lifestyle. Yeah. But Jaden, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, so I think, what's a pretty big point for trying to introduce, your if you're an adult and you have, like, when you want to introduce your kids into working out, or just, maybe get them into, like, a hobby or something like that. I think, like, a big thing is just, introducing the topic to them, which is just, like, introducing the thought into them is what made me get into the gym from him. He would never, once again, we already said this, but he would never force me and say, like, you have to come work out. Or even when it comes to, God and reading the Bible, he never said you have to do this. But he always introduced a topic, which is something that's, like, very interesting. He would always sometimes talk about God, but he would never tell us, like, you have to go do this. He would just, maybe mention something to us. And so that always led us to, always have that in the back of our brain, like, oh, like, so that's why when we did become more closer, with God, it wasn't something, like, new. It wasn't just something random. We always, oh yeah, he used to talk about it sometimes. Same thing with the gym. He would never tell us, you have to come work out with me. he would just say, like, if you guys want to, or we would see him work out, or he would talk to us about working out, but never forcing us into anything, therefore creating us to get a little bit curious about it, and made us want to, it's almost like it brought that, planting the seed, like it brought in that spark in us to really be interested. Like, one thing for me, which maybe, I don't want to say, like, I don't want to sound like, boasting about myself, maybe I'm a little bit different, but I've always been, interested in working out. Like, I've always been, like, I always thought it was kind of cool. There was, when quarantine kind of first started hitting, I remember, like, I was in 5th grade, and my mom and my dad took me to Planet Fitness, and, like, I was like, yo, let's go. Like, I was so happy. So, like, maybe I'm just, a little bit different from other kids, who don't want to go to the gym, but I was actually always interested into it. But I know for him, he wasn't always interested into it. I remember, like, there was, me and him both, but, I feel like he was a little bit more of the hardcore gamer. Like, he was gaming crazy every single day. We were both gaming crazy every single day. And for years, we didn't work out until it was, our sister started helping us work out. That was another thing, planting the seed there. She didn't force us, but it was almost like, if we didn't do it, we would feel guilty about it. So it was like, oh, okay, let's just do this little, like, home workout. So it's overall just about introducing the topic into them. Just try to, like, talk to them a little bit about it. Like, tell them about how you had a good workout and be like, dang, that sounds pretty good, or, like, let them know, like, hey, you want to come, like my brother said, go on a run with me, or, come to the park and let's maybe, like, do something on, like, the monkey bars or something. Like, just introducing the topic into them, planting the seed, letting them know what it's about. It's going to really intrigue them and really want them to chase after that same thing. And it's like, it was especially super inspiring, coming from him, because, seeing my dad, pretty ripped and big, I was like, dang, like, I kind of want to look like that too. So it's like, it almost made me want to work out even more. So it's just, that's kind of the best advice, I was thinking about the whole time, is just introducing the topic into them, really letting them know what it's about. And it's going to get them into it, because, and that's, once again, that's the same way how we got into, God and reading our Bibles every single morning. Because, like my brother said, he would always read his Bible in the morning. I remember every single day, I would just be laying down on the couch, coming down, like we'd be getting ready to go to the gym. I'd be laying down on the couch on my phone. My brother would be on the steps on his phone, and he'd be reading his Bible. He never said, like, why don't you guys, you guys should read your Bible in the morning. You guys should read your Bible in the morning. He just did his thing, and eventually, honestly, the habit just started where every single morning, we just all started reading our Bibles, praising God in the morning. And it's just, it's amazing, that we develop these things, but it's what's even more amazing is how it was never forced upon us. It was never told to us that you have to do this. It was always just something like, we always saw it, and like they both said, my brother and my dad, leading by example. We all saw it, and so we just kept on chasing and wanted to be like that. So that's my advice I can give.
Okay, yeah. So when it comes to planting the seed, I feel like this also takes some stuff in the actual person doing it to notice that it is one step at a time. Like, I told one guy at the gym one time, and he was saying, when he's talking to me and my brother, I said, you can't expect to beat the dragon when you're still level 1 in a video game. In a video game, you start off level 1 and you start fighting the zombies. You start, like, let's say this is Minecraft or something. You start fighting the zombies, and then you level up. You start fighting bigger, larger enemies because you're more equipped to fight them. So then eventually when you're fighting the dragon with, like, missiles and stuff. I was watching a podcast the other day from this guy, Alex Hormozy, and he said that what you're doing, it doesn't get any harder. And the reason that is because in the beginning, it's like you're fighting a bear with a stick. It's a formidable enemy, and you have a stick. But eventually, it gets to a point where you're fighting larger battles, but you're more equipped to fight them. Like fighting a dragon with a missile. It's like you're not fighting it with a stick. Life doesn't get harder. It becomes, you make it harder if you decide to fight the dragon with the stick. And this goes for habits as well. If you're trying to, for us, we went to the gym, I'd say 2, maybe 3 years after starting being physical. And this is the same with you. You said, you tell us a lot how you started with push-ups and stuff. It's like, that's everybody's story. They always start one step at a time. And then, but when they really want, like when people, and let's say New Year's resolutions, when they want to become their better version, they're trying to go to the gym every single day of the week when they never worked out in their life before. And that's not the way to go. When you're trying to get rid of a habit or trying to make a habit a thing, it's one step at a time. When we started, we used to do 5-10 minutes circuits at home that our sister monitored us, and then we went to like 20-minute workouts, and then maybe 30 minutes, and we went back down, because life isn't always a straight path. It's 30 minutes and then 10 minutes. We weren't always doing the same thing every single day. Some days we'd miss. I think there was a time where we actually wouldn't work out on weekends. Like, it would only be Monday to Friday, and on weekends we wouldn't even touch it. And look where we are now. Only day off is Sunday because we're recording a podcast. But that was one thing I want to say about one step at a time. And before we run out of time, when you were talking earlier, a few thoughts ran into my mind, like how age isn't really like such importance anymore. I feel like now in this generation we are, and instead it's just wisdom. Respect someone with wisdom. You have a scripture about wisdom. Say it real quick, because then pass it back, because I don't know what this scripture is. I forgot what the scripture is.
So this would be, I believe it's Ecclesiastes 7:12, where wisdom is defense, money is defense, but the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life unto them who have it.
I feel like wisdom is becoming a lot more of importance in this new generation, in this new era of life compared to age. Like, there's no point of respecting someone who's 50 years old when they're still degenerate, I guess you could say. Like, what is the point of respecting? Like, for me personally, the only reason I would respect someone older is because they're older. I would be hesitant to respect someone who is doing bad habits that I know are bad and that they know are bad, and that, like, I'd be hesitant to respect someone who mocks God's name. It needs to come from wisdom. Wisdom is now because back in the old days, when you get older, you develop wisdom, because you don't have all these distractions in front of you. But nowadays, there's so many distractions that when you get older, you decrease in your wisdom levels, I guess you could say. You become dumber, I hate to say, because you refuse to learn. And learning, being a lifelong student is what you need in order to honestly just stop the brain damage that you acquire when you get older. Yeah, but you want to say something?
So Matthew 5:16 says, in the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see the good deeds in you and glorify your Father in heaven. So let's just take that scripture for what it is. Basically, living your life through Christ, right? So that they can reference God in everything you do, and know that before you even say anything out your mouth, they already know who you serve. They already know. And if they don't know, they're going to stop you in your tracks, and they're going to ask you, something positive or maybe negative is going to be attracted. And then what you do from that point moving forward, how you lead that conversation, is going to determine the ultimate end result. Whether it's, I don't like you as a person, or, man, you're such a great person, I need to know more about you, And I feel like if you glorify your Father in heaven, if you're doing good deeds, right, and you don't want anything in return, you're just doing them because this is how I am, this is who I am, right? If you are that person, even before you came to God, let's just say you were a good person, right, but having God in your life is a bonus. Now your kids see that. And that's what we're basically talking about, is just living a good, righteous life, being humble, being able to also understand that you got flaws and you ain't perfect. And, you're able to also accept constructive criticism or negative criticism, right? So that your kids can follow in those footsteps too as well. And also get to the point where you're at, right? Because there's I hear a lot of people say there's so many levels to this, right? And there's so many levels to this, and that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning, because when you get to the top of the mountain, that ain't even over yet, because there's always going to be a higher mountain. There's always going to be a higher mountain. So your kids need to understand that you're still breaking walls as well. You're still breaking walls, because if they see and they look at you like, whoa, Dad, you're so perfect. You don't want that. You do not want that label. I'm a perfect no, there's no there. I don't want you to be like me. I want you to be better than me. And that's, as people and as a father, that's what I want them to be, is better than me, because I'm trying to be better than me right now. I'm trying to still, it doesn't stop right now. Like, there's no such thing as retiring from life. Retiring from life is when you're already, 6 feet underground and you can't really do much then, So while you're alive, while you're here right now, you should always have a goal. You should always be aspiring to be, a better version of yourself. And in return, those kids that are behind you, when you think they're playing Fortnite, they're actually still observing. They're actually still watching and listening. They're more observant than we are as adults. Like you had said, because we got so much distractions. We said distraction number one right here. We're actually dumbing down. We're actually like closing our boxes. We're taping it up and we're shipping it away. It's like you're going into the postal office and you're shipping away your brain, because that's exactly what you're doing when you're influenced by these other electronic gadgets that are now meant to be kept in your pocket. If not, they have a very long, lengthy line that never ends. It's that invisible line that never ends. You're attached to it. You are attached to it, just like you are attached to your body. When you go to bed, you sleep and you dream, but when you wake up, you're back in your body. There's just, this is your temple, and you got to make the best of this. This is not your temple right here. This is not your temple right here. This is a distraction, and that distraction can be your ultimate demise. That can be the end result right there, which is basically nothing. And you don't want to be nothing. You want to be something. And when you look at your kids and you see them grow and you see them asking questions and you see them trying to hold your hand and say, Dad, show me the way, then you have a purpose in life. You actually have a purpose. And that purpose is an amazing way to put things into perspective. And it actually gives you a reason to say, you know what? This is fun. This is fun being a dad, But yeah, that's my take on that. Jaden, you have anything? I think what I could say, what you could talk about real quick, is that, like, when I used to take you to the gym, we kind of used to clash in a way, because it was a very humbling experience, because like there were moments where like I would go with him and we would be together in the gym, but I didn't really want to be with him. We would go together. We would go together, but I didn't really want to be with him, because it got to the point where I felt like I was talking to the wall, But in that time, I really didn't know, like I really didn't have that connection with God like I have it now, where I can kind of sit back and just let God do his thing, I'm not trying to force anything, because when I didn't really have that relationship, that bond, it was more like, bro, what are you doing? And now it's not even like that. It's more like, okay, yeah. I mean, talk about that. Talk about how that made you feel, man.
Yeah, so when we when I remember it was when we first started going to the gym together. It was actually interesting now looking back on it, because I remember, I was kind of one of those. I got to be honest with you guys. I was one of those kids who kind of just like, oh, the gym, oh, lift heavy weights, oh, just meathead is what you would call it, just like go in there and try to lift all the heavy weights, basically just think like I was very like proud, just thinking that everything I was doing was right. So when we first started going to the gym there, right, I think the first day, of course I didn't know what was going on, so I let him kind of show me, but we were going there for about, like, it was this one gym we were going there for about a month, and day by day it started getting to the point where but whatever he was doing, and he's my dad, I wanted to like kind of one up him or think that everything I was doing was right. And I remember this like specific moment we were doing. It was lat pull down. I don't know if you remember this. It was lat pull down, and I remember there's a specific way you're supposed to hold the lat pull down bar, and I'm holding it like so far apart. And then he's like, "Oh, Jaden, you know, you should hold it a little bit more closer so you can actually pull it down to your chest." And I'm like, "What? But this is what my friend told me to do." Like, I was like, "This is what my friend told me to do." And I'm over here like kind of going up, like I'm not sitting my butt fully down. And I remember you were just like, "Okay," like you try to let it go. I was like, "What?" Like this, like I was still going at it. I was like, "What? This is what my friend told me to do." And I remember it's crazy because I was listening to my friend more than I was listening to my dad. And it was just like when we were going to that gym, I just remember. Like everything we were doing, I was just like trying to do it heavier, or like if he was teaching me, if he was trying to show me a move, like, yo, look at this, like it was like this one pull movement. I was like, nah, I don't want to do that, because I was just so, I wanted to just do like the basic stuff, you know, just like the bench, shoulder press, curl, whatever, you know, just simple stuff like that. And like while he was trying to teach me and everything, I was just never listening to him. And then, you know, he kind of realized, he was like, okay, you know what, this is fine. I'm gonna let him do his own thing. And then after, when you started letting me do my own thing, is when I actually started getting more closer to him. Where I actually started just like, you know, me and him were just, you know, eventually we were just started, you know, I think it was more so that towards the end when we started going to that gym, but just, you know, connecting a little bit more, I was doing everything he was doing, the cardio he would do, the ab, you know, he would do, basically everything. It's like, cause he let me do my own thing, and what I realized is I couldn't go into the wild because I wasn't, like my brother was talking about, I wasn't suited yet. Like I was just basically trying to go into like, I was I don't know, what's an example I can use?
With no wings.
Let's just say like, yeah, let's just say I was like a bird, a just baby born bird, and I fell out the nest, right? And I just landed in like a forest with snakes, lions, other big birds. I was unequipped. Very unequipped, and that's basically what I tried doing. But then
trying to fight the dragon with a stick. But then I realized after he was like, I'm gonna let him do his thing. I realized to myself, I was like, you know what? Like I don't even know what to do. Like it didn't feel right, and so I found my way to crawl back to the nest. I found my way to crawl back to him, and from there it was just like, I mean, we were just, you know, and then that's kind of what it started leading us to go to the new gym we go to now, where we don't work out together, but we work out together, if that makes any sense. Like, we don't work out together, like, in a group, but we always will see each other. Make sure we, like, give a thumbs up, like, you good? Or, like, you know, if we see the other person doing a workout we want to do, yeah, can I join in with you? Like, we work out, we don't work out together, but we work out together, like, with our hearts, you know? And we know that, and it's just, and overall, like, you know, it really has just been, like, looking back on it, you know, God has truly, like, built our connection so much, built the things we do so much stronger. It's like, honestly, this bond that we have is unbreakable, because the reason why it's unbreakable is because we have God. It's literally unbreakable. Like, I don't really think, no matter, even though sometimes, you know, we might have some hiccups here and there, whether it's me, him, we always find a way to come back because of God. God always brings us back no matter what, and helps us resolve, you know. Like, there were literally like yesterday, it's crazy too, you know, my brother, you know, he said something when I was talking to my sister. He said something to me. I didn't like it. I said something to him. He didn't like it. I can guarantee you we were probably mad at each other for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Really, the rest of the day, it's like nothing even happened. It's like we just forgot about it, because it's like, what's the point, man? It's just like that. So that's basically what I'm talking about. It's just it's crazy what God has been able to do to us to build our connection. You know, once again, not letting anything being forced on us. I didn't force him to tell me to tell me I was right. He didn't force me to tell him he was right. We just it didn't matter, you know. It's just, and it's that same thing when we were going to the gym, me and him. He never forced me to do the workouts he was doing. He just left me be, and leaving me be really made me crawl back to him. Really made me go back to what I knew was right. That conviction I felt, and I didn't even know what that meant at that time. The conviction I felt of like, yeah, I'm doing something wrong, but I didn't know at that time, so I didn't look at it like a big deal. When I, looking back on it now, I understand what it was, and what God was doing there at that time. Yeah, Leviticus chapter 19 verse 18. Ye shall hold no grudge. Ye shall not avenge nor hold any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. We as people, as humans, we should not be holding grudges, we're about to end it, guys. And so what you can take out of this video, out of this podcast, is that children, kids, they're empty vessels compared to you as an adult. So they will observe everything around them, and based off their environment is who they're gonna become. And because you're a parent raising them, the only control you have over it is not the child, but the environment that they're raised in. The people, the actions they get to see around them. So you dictate how they end up.
Yeah.
And that is something powerful. Once you realize that you control where they get to grow, you can actually realize why this child became why this child became a prideful child, or why this child became an annoyance to you, or all those things. I feel like that's the main lesson out of this video, besides the fact of not forcing anything onto your child. And then also, one step at a time. Don't fight the dragon with the stick. That's about it, guys.
But before you,
not about it.
but this could be a continuation. This conversation could be a continuation because for me, when they were growing up, they wanted to get into the phones. They wanted to have a computer. They wanted to play Roblox. They wanted to have a tablet, and that led to the big bad monster. The big bad monster is something called the internet. The web. Again, we spoke about that in a few podcasts before this one. But the internet was something that I was afraid of. But I was not tackling that like a servant of God. I was attacking it like a human being of this world. The internet was something that I wanted to break down and put some chains behind, and put time and program this and program that and block this and block that. Like I said, this could lead to another big conversation, but all I really simply want to say is that I failed. I failed because I wasn't really monitoring that in the way that I should have been monitoring that, which is monitoring my relationship with God first. And in that sense, once you have that relationship, once you have that leading by example, living a righteous life, trust me when I tell you this, everything will sort itself. Everything will sort itself, because the internet is not bigger than God. The internet is big enough to kind of consume you here in this world and bring you down enough to probably have many bad thoughts, and that leads into a rabbit hole that you don't want to ever go to because you can never get out of it. But when you're doing it, living a righteous life and just worshiping and just knowing who you serve, and you ain't confused about that. You know who you serve. You serve Jesus Christ. Bottom line, right? Jesus Christ. Bottom line. And because of that, you're equipped. But if you try fighting, like you said, the dragon, if you try fighting the internet with another device, or the dragon with a stick, which is not comparable to a missile, all right, you're trying to knock down Godzilla, you better come down with some nuclear, whatever it takes to knock down Godzilla. Same thing with the web. You're trying to knock down the web with another device, you're gonna fail. But if you try to knock down these obstacles that are put in front of us so that we can fail and shrivel up like a little sponge and become used up, and what do you do with a sponge when it's used up? You throw it away and you get a brand new one. But you can't do that with your brain. You can't. You can't undo the damage that has already been done. But let me tell you, when you go to Christ and you bring all your problems to him, and you bring your problems to the right one, right? Then all those problems that you once had before are forgiven. They're forgiven. And you start a whole brand new chapter in this life that never really ends. It's a whole new journey. And that is the journey that I want you to come along with us and be a part of this journey, guys. If you haven't already done so, make sure you click likes down below, sub to the channel. Listen, if you don't, then you're missing out. Don't miss out. And if you have yet to accept Christ into your life, do so now. Because time is the only thing right now holding us back. Because sadly, this world is full of time, but not enough time, because Christ is coming soon. Let's go.
You don't even have enough time to finish this podcast.
We don't.